Right now, in 2025, tensions between the United States and Iran are closer to war than they've been in years. But here's the truth that they're not telling you. The US may not be as powerful as you think. Stick around, because what the US is planning next might just shift global power forever. But what happens if Iran strikes back? Let's break it down. For decades, the US has used a mix of sanctions, proxy wars, and military pressure to contain Iran.
Just in, that Iran directly threatened America?
Top tonight, NBC News has learned that message from Iran was conveyed to President Trump by an intermediary during last week's G7 summit, warning the president if he launched airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran could respond by unleashing terrorist attacks on the U.S. by activating sleeper cells it has inside this country, according to two U.S. officials, all as we learn new details about those historic strikes.
In 2024, that pressure exploded again when Iran allegedly launched cyber attacks against U.S. allies. So, what can the U.S. actually do in 2025?
The Defense Department has confirmed that Iran launched 16 short-range ballistic missiles from at least 3 locations. 11 missiles hit the Al-Assad air base, at least one in Erbil. No one was killed. Nothing major was damaged, but Defense Secretary Mark Esper says the U.S. military remains poised and ready for any more action from Iran. One of the major concerns is Tehran's potential to launch a cyber attack in retaliation for the death of that Iranian general. Joining us now, Raleigh Flynn, president of the Foreign Policy Research Institute and former executive director of the CIA Counter-Terrorism Center. And in terms of being good at this, we have to say Iran's has demonstrated some pretty good capabilities in cyber terrorism in the past, we think, anyway.
That's absolutely right. Iran has a pretty robust capability, the full panoply of tools to conduct cyber attacks, from malware, malicious malware. They have perpetrated a lot of attacks over the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years. And not only technical attacks, but disinformation kinds of attacks. They've defaced websites over the weekend. It looks like they're the perpetrators of a disinformation campaign against former National Security Advisor John Bolton. We ourselves at FPRI, the Foreign Policy Research Institute, were the target of what we think is a probable Iranian disinformation campaign.
Quick surgical strike on nuclear facilities? Sure, sounds easy until you remember that Iran's nuclear sites are underground, hardened, and heavily defended.
Tonight, the world waits as Iran vows to retaliate after the United States joined Israel's air campaign to destroy the Islamic Republic's nuclear program.
After conducting the largest B-2 strike in history, the stealth bombers returned to Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri this afternoon. The B-2s led a force of more than 125 American aircraft in an operation the Pentagon dubbed Midnight Hammer. 7 B-2s took off at midnight on Friday, headed east for Iran's nuclear production sites, while 7 more flew west on a decoy mission to the Pacific. It was a B-2 head fake.
You'd need massive bunker-busting bombs. Even then, the fallout, regional chaos, global oil spikes, potential World War III. If the US bombs Iran, do you think the Middle East will ever be the same again? Comment your thoughts below. Back in the early 2010s, sanctions worked because the world was dollar dependent. But in 2025, Iran's trading with China, Russia, and BRICS nations without the dollar. So when the US says we're cutting Iran off financially, Tehran just laughs and keeps selling oil elsewhere. Here's what no one tells you. The more the US uses sanctions, the more countries learn how to live without the US. But what happened next will shock you. So what is America's real play? Cyber warfare, covert, silent, devastating. This isn't Hollywood, it's happening. In 2023, Iran's steel plants literally caught fire from US-linked malware. But here's the bigger game: influence. America funds dissident groups, media, and opposition voices inside Iran. The goal? Not to bomb Iran, not to invade, but to make the regime collapse from within. What if the US doesn't want war, just a revolution? Let us know in the comments. Should the US support internal revolts or stay out of it completely? But here's the price. Every US action builds resentment, not just in Iran, but globally. If America pushes too hard, it may just create the very enemy it fears the most: a unified anti-US alliance of Iran, Russia, China, and more. Imagine a world where America isn't the superpower anymore. Let me tell you about Operation Ajax. In 1953, the CIA helped overthrow Iran's elected government. They installed a dictator for oil.
On August 15, 1953, an armored caravan weaved through the streets of Tehran. Inside the lead car, the commander of the Iranian Imperial Guard carried a decree from the Shah, officially dismissing the country's Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, from office.
That moment sparked decades of hatred, leading to the 1979 revolution. And now in 2025, the ghosts of that past are still haunting us. So what's next? War, collapse, or cold diplomacy? Do you think the truth about this will ever come out, or are we just watching history repeat itself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this. And in our next video, the secret deal between Iran and China that could break the dollar. Stay tuned.